He's looking at you, kids.
You had me at hello.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Bond.
This seems so
James Bond.
There's no place like home.
I'm gonna make him an offer down with you.
Hey, and welcome to Gone with the Wind. We are back as my dog is going crazy out there.
Always right, Malcolm.
Yeah, but we're back. We're here to talk about some Oscars. There's not a lot to talk about this early in the year, but there was some changes that came out in the last few weeks that forward to it. But we've also got Dan here. Dan, how's it going?
It's going good, Malcolm. You know, I always love being with you on Gone with the Wind. I love talking awards, and you know me, I'm always chomping at the bit to get going on this stuff because I love it.
Yeah, but yeah, we'll probably be every 2 weeks for at least until we really start getting into the Oscars film stuff that happens. But this is something that came out that I just decided that it's probably worth talking about now before it gets lost in the shuffle. It has been announced that Oscars are going to be March the 10th next year. But they also announced some changes to the rules as well, specifically to the campaigning stuff. This is really about the Andre Riseborough. And in the article I was reading, apparently there's some stuff that was kind of relating to Top Gun Maverick and all that as well, like stuff they did. But yeah, I borrowed some screenshots from the John Campier's talk about it, just because he had probably the best sort of screenshot bullet points that I kind of want to talk about. But yeah, so basically, the first set of new rules that have they're going to talk about is that anyone in the Academy can post on social media about movies and films they love, but they can't mention voting or how they'll vote. You can't discuss voting preferences in public forums. And you can't publicly rank movies or performances in public in terms of that year's eligible films. They, like as John was saying on that video, was saying they can talk about like their top 5 movies of like 1985, but they can't talk about their top 5 movies of the year prior as influence. But Dan, what are your thoughts about those changes that they've made?
Yeah, because I actually like the ideas, because this way, word of mouth of like, oh, to Leslie, you need to see this movie. Oh, you need to see this. You need to see this movie. And then the word of mouth gets around with all these people. And they start telling everybody and their brother to see To Leslie, and they're ranking To Leslie high because everybody is starting the word of mouth and they're starting to talk about the movie. I like that idea. So then nobody knows what anybody's thinking ahead of time. And then it's much more straightforward voting that way. You have your 5 or whatever it is, amount of number that you're supposed to vote, and so forth and so on. And I think I actually like the rules a lot better. I like those rules. You know, Malcolm, there was going to be times when people are going to start finding ways around. Look, there's an old sports saying, and I know you're not a big sports guy, but if you're not cheating, you're not trying. So yeah. These people are going to try to find loopholes in the voting system. And last year, there was a glaring hole in the voting process as far as that. And that's how Andrea Riseborough got in there.
Oh, yeah. And it's one of those ones, like, the way I sort of read it into this is they can't go, oh, yeah, you need to see To Leslie because these performances are good and should be nominated. But I think they're allowed to say, go see a insert movie here because they liked it, but they can't sort of say, elaborate on specifically for the cinematography and specifically as to influence voting, but they can relay people to go see that movie because they think it's a good movie. But anyway, other changes they have made is they can't, basically just what it is. They can't encourage other voting members to vote or not vote for any movie or category. you can't privately encourage other voting members to vote or not vote for that movie. But they've also got a hotline email address that's set up for both voting members and non-members, so that they can snitch on anyone they can see breaking the rules. So yeah, I personally think I like the idea of having a number they can bring if they catch anyone breaking the rules. I think that is a little bit too far, to be honest.
What are we, children? What are we in middle school or little kids
Yeah,
here?
because I mean, it's one of those ones like you see like Jason Segel and Martin Scorsese just hanging out in the bar talking about something, and then you just overhear them go, "Oh yeah, Morbius is a great movie. It should be nominated for Oscars." And I know that's ridiculous as it is, because they really shouldn't have been nominated for Oscars in the first place. But the fact that now people can just snitch on them and it's like, oh, look, Martin Scorsese and Jason Segel hanging out together talking about how they're going to vote. It's like, but Dan, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, my thing is this: you could flip that, Malcolm, right? And I agree with what you're saying. You could flip that. Martin Scorsese and Jason Segel are talking. How about, you don't know what they're saying? Nobody knows what they're saying. They're saying, "Oh, I saw Martin Scorsese and Jason Segel talking about this." They may not even have been in the same room, in the same zip code together, for all we know. Yet someone's saying, "Oh, they're at this hotel talking about this or that or the other." I mean, you could flip that around, and people could lie about stuff. This is a slippery slope here.
Yeah. But yeah, like basically the other two was basically what we sort of said with the last section anyway, which that's pretty self-explanatory. And then I think this is the last bunch of changes that they're making. But now, like when it comes to hosted screenings for movies, they used to be unlimited, but now they can have a maximum of 4 hosted screenings before the nomination announcements, but they can't have any once the nominations are announced. And then the Oscar governors themselves cannot endorse any form or category between when the short lists are announced and then the final voting. So basically what I see there is the governors, they can sort of say, "Oh yeah, To Leslie's a good movie. I really endorse it. You should I should really recommend you go watch." But if once the shortlists are announced and To Leslie's not on it, they can't just go endorse any of that. And I don't know too much about these hosted screenings, but I think it's fair that to not have them after the nomination announcement because of sort of what we just said. But Dan, what are your thoughts about this screenings and the governors?
No, I like the idea of once the long lists and short lists are done. But the fact of the matter is, what they're trying to prevent here is, like, Cate Blanchett had a private screening of To Leslie. Nicole Kidman had a private screening of To Leslie. Tom Cruise, or this one, had a private screening of Top Gun Maverick. Michelle Yeoh said on Instagram or Twitter, "Hey, this is a great movie. You should vote for this." That's the kind of stuff they're trying to prevent. So then you have your own opinion based on what you saw. Don't take what other people saw. Don't take these screenings and use these screenings to benefit your film or your friend or your buddy. And that's what they're trying to cut back on.
But the other thing that that was also mentioned in this article and is they did talk about the consequences if anyone breaks the rules and all that. But it is basically the penalties for violations may include, but not limited to, suspending or revoking mailing house and communications privileges, revoking privileges to attend Academy events, disqualifying movies, performance or achievement for awards consideration, rescinding an Oscar nomination, revoking voting privileges, and suspending Academy membership and expelling them from the Academy. Like, I mean, I think that's going to depend on the severity of if they break it, but some of those just seem really over the top for breaking some of these, and it's just, I mean, it's all good they've got these rules in, but I think that's a little bit too over the top. It's going to be interesting to sort of see how this impacts the season going forward. But Dan, what are your thoughts about the consequences?
No, actually, I agree 100% with you. These are really strict consequences if you break the rules, like taking away a nomination, taking a movie out of contention for nominations. Those are, I mean, that's some studio-wide stuff that I'm sure some studios are not going to be happy with some of these consequences. Maybe that's the point, though. Maybe they wanted to make the rules so over the top and so strict that you won't even think about breaking these rules. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's definitely what, like, just to use the example that the big example that kind of made them think about these changes, the Andre Riseborough. If that happened now that these rules are in place, like, and which I don't think is really fair, because Andre Riseborough probably would have been who had a nomination with vote, but even though she had nothing to do with any of that, so that is a little bit unfair. Like, if you got Kate Blanchett endorsing you and go, she should be nominated, but then she gets a nomination with vote and she had nothing to do with any of that. It's a little bit unfair.
No, you're right. It had nothing to do with Andrea Riseborough. It was Kate Blanchett. It was Nicole Kidman. Things that Tom Cruise did. Things that Michelle Yeoh. These people, obviously, they have two movies. It's their movies that they're trying to benefit Michelle Yeoh and Tom Cruise. Andrea Riseborough had nothing to do with the studio that made To Leslie. Had nothing to do with Nicole Kidman and Kate Blanchett spurning this whole groundswell to support Andrea Riseborough. But the underlying thing is she's a friend of theirs.
Yeah, I mean, the other way I could have seen that going too, and this is all speculative. This is not sort of, we don't know this is the way it would have gone. On the other side of thing, the other way I can see it goes, like, they can see, oh yeah, Andrea Riseborough, because they'll talk to Andrea, like, did you have any idea this was going on? Or like, and as she said in interviews, like, she had no idea this was going on. So what I could see is it could have backfired on Kate Blanchett, and Kate Blanchett could have got a new nomination rescinded, because she was the one that spearheaded that whole campaign. So I mean, that's the other way I think it could have gone, like, because they saw Andrea Riseborough like had nothing to do with it. Like, it could have backfired on Kate, and she had her nomination rescinded, which she probably wouldn't have cared, because she didn't want to win anyway.
She didn't want to win anyway. We heard her speech at the Critics' Choice Award. This is a dog and pony show. There's no the best of this. It's just we're all doing the work, and we're all doing the best we can, and we're all trying. There's no best, who's better than somebody else, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you're right. You're 100% right, Malcolm. I cannot disagree with you at all. And if that would have been wild, if Kate Blanchett, I wanted Michelle Yeoh to win, but a lot of people legitimately thought Kate Blanchett had given the best performance of the year for Tar, and if she had gotten that nomination rescinded and a Viola Davis or a Danielle Deadwyler would have got in there, that would have been crazy.
Yeah.
But we also remember this, Malcolm, and we all have. A lot of people don't have the best memories, but this isn't that long ago, so we do kind of have a good memory about it. If it wasn't for the fact that two African-American women who gave great performances last year, and neither one of them got into the Best Actress race, that's kind of why a lot of this kind of got brought to the forefront in a way.
Yeah.
And it's terrible that either one of those, Viola Davis or especially Danielle Deadwyler, didn't get nominated.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's fine. I don't know, like, if this To Leslie's good. I actually want to see it now, just to see it.
It's on Vudu. I don't know if you have access to Vudu or not. And
I don't, but I mean, it's probably going to come up. Like, it's probably going to come out on DVD for me at some stage. It's like it's going to become available at some stage. But yeah, I'm definitely going to try and watch it, and then and actually watch it, because just to see who nominated, it kind of makes me interested to see if her performance is actually this good.
It is good, Malcolm. It is good, but I think you've seen what she's done before by other people. I'll put it that way. It's a good performance, but I think you've been watching a lot of movies. You've watched a lot of movies, and I think you might have seen something similar to what she's done before by other people.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely one of those ones. But I think it's also, but it's one of those ones like even without Andrea Riseborough there, I think it just shows that the best actress race was actually pretty stacked as well. Because, I know a lot of people criticize Ana de Armas for being there for a blonde, which a lot of people don't like. I still stand by my point that she did still had a great performance in the movie. And that's really what it's about. It's about the performances, not the specific movie. But that being said, going to move on. As I said, this is probably going to be a short one because it really isn't really much to elaborate on these rules. But it's, and I think it's one of those ones they didn't do any any big punishment for Kate and Andrea because these weren't in place then. We're not going to punish something for rules that they really don't exist.
Right.
So they've changed the rules and now they do exist. But going to quickly move on to this is something I don't really like doing, but Dan wanted to do it, so I'm going to. It's very a lot of people do very early Oscar predictions, but so Dan, I'll go to you first. What are some early Oscar predictions that you've got there?
Yeah, I'm not just going to name 5 people in every category. I'm just going to name a few here and there in various categories I think are good, are legitimate, could legitimately have a shot in some of these categories. And it's really early. We're in May, so I've seen people do early predictions in March, right after the Academy Awards. So we're at least taking a couple months to do this. We're seeing some of the movies, and you got to see one that I think has legitimately four things in it that I think obviously early, it's got a long year, that could possibly get nominations. And it's a guy by the name of Dan. One of the things is a guy by the name of Dan Lotson. He's the cinematographer of John Wick Chapter 4. I was raving about John Wick Chapter 3 and his cinematography. He did get a nomination for Nightmare Alley, which is a Guillermo del Toro film a couple of years ago. But I think the cinematography in the last 2 John Wick movies are incredible. I mean, breathtaking what he does with natural light, like neon lighting, street lights, the sun. I mean, he just changes it up. And that movie is just so gorgeous, Malcolm. I don't know how he could have gotten left out for the last John Wick. Also, sound. I mean, literally, when you first start watching that movie, the sound knocks you on your feet. It is so powerful and so strong. The blows, the fighting skills and stuff that people are getting, I think are just some of the best sound I've seen in any movie. Oh yeah, I mean, I think the sound is legitimate. This thing could stand up, and I don't remember who's the sound designer for John Wick Chapter 4, but this guy has a legit shot of being nominated. Also, costumes, especially the costumes for the Grand Marquis or whatever the hell his name is, played by Bill Skarsgård. His costumes are incredible in this movie. I mean, incredible. They've never gotten justice for the John Wick movies for their costumes, but the costumes in this are just amazing, amazing costumes. And I just think, overall, John Wick is a great, great, great film. And I think if you look at the makeup and hair design, that's the other one. The makeup and hair design on Malcolm, you saw the movie yesterday. I forget the guy's name, the big fat guy. The big fat guy.
I don't remember his name. I just thought of him as the big fat guy.
That guy is not a big fat guy in real life. Scott Adkins is his name. Scott Adkins. He's not a big fat guy in real life. He's actually a skinny guy, and he's a stunt coordinator type of guy. They put him in a fat suit with grills, and he looked completely different than how he looks. So to me, those 4 categories for John Wick Chapter 4 are legit shots for nominations. In my opinion, you could agree or disagree, Malcolm. Let me know what you think.
Well, yeah. So just to get in there, like now, when it comes to the makeup and hairstyling, it's going to be interesting if because they may like that branch may push back at the fact it may start actually considering all the backlash for when it won makeup when the Whale won makeup and hairstyling
You're right.
last year or this year. The makeup branch might start thinking twice when it comes to if they use fat suits or that. Now, that being said, I think the makeup and hairstyling on a lot of the characters in John Wick 4 were good. So, I mean, I think it's one of those ones like Scott Adkins' character, and I really should have looked it up while we were talking, but I didn't. But like that's only a small part of it. So, that might be a case of like that they'll look at the makeup in there of every other character, like it's actually pretty good. I can get behind that. Cinematography is the other one I can get behind. I mean, editing and sound editing, this is like I think the John Wick movies are really visual masterpieces. And like it's definitely like a American version of a martial arts movie. Most definitely, that's definitely what it is. Very light on the plot, but heavy on the action. Which I think, like, I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy it as much as the others for that reason. But yeah, and just to and I actually just brought up the cinematography from the year that Parabellum was out. And cinematography nominations was Deacons for 1917. The Irishman, Joker, Lighthouse, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think all those are deserving. I think it would have been hard to get John Wick 3 into that lineup.
I understand.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to Air, which you have not seen, but you're going to be seeing very soon. I know that because we had a discussion. I think you could legitimately put Ben Affleck in the director possibilities, both the screenplay as well. Viola Davis in supporting actress, Chris Messina in supporting actor, Matt Damon in best actor, and maybe Air in best picture. Without seeing the movie, do you have any thoughts on that, Malcolm?
I mean, I haven't seen the movie, so I can't really judge it, but I do, because of all that, I do judge it. But yeah, unfortunately, I do have to cut this a little bit shorter. I do have to rush off there.
Okay.
But yeah, the only one I was actually going to think is, I actually really like Guardians 3. I think a lot of those, like, I know it's a superhero movie. I know it's probably got no chance, but I think there's a little bit of chance that there could be that if any superhero movie sneaks into get some awards now. I think that it could be one, but yeah, you can find us all at our usual places and see at the movies. Sorry, I had to rush there.
All right, no problem. No problem, Malcolm.